I just got through watching the Republican debates, and I must say, on NBC with Dick Gregory, and I must say that it was completely and entirely frustrating. And at this point, I think I have to put the fault on Dick Gregory and on the networks and how they question these candidates. The reality is that there are no substantive questions being asked of these candidates. America has structural problems. America's problems had really got exacerbated with the institution of supply side economics by Ronald Reagan, and this is not really in dispute. Even the architect of supply side economics has come out against the actual effects of what has occurred. Now, it is a fact, and this information is available all over the place, from the census data to just about anywhere where you can get factual information. It is a fact that supply side economics is a failure. It is a fact that as supply side economics has been instituted into our economy, that the wealth and income disparity has increased. It has made the middle class much poorer, and that is by design. We have to realize that policies such as free trade creates the norm. Free trade and outsourcing creates the normalization of wages. What that means is that because we are free to get services, labor, and products from all over the world with no restrictions on whether the other countries have good policies for their environment or their workers or whatever, that our wages to compete will have to be normalized with the wages in people in China, Vietnam, India, and all these other places that produce engineers that are just as good as American engineers. So we have to have national policies, American patriotic policies, that ensure that in our own country we protect our own because we have our own values, etc. We are not doing that, and the policies that would be instituted by the Republicans would be free trade on steroids, outsourcing on steroids, nothing for the American people, and yet it is allowed. Networks and journalists have allowed their policies to be marketed as being business-like. Well, the reality is it may be business-like, but the fact is that the business-like that it's for is for those who are in the top echelons, the top 1% of the capitalist structure, and all their goals are to minimize wages of Americans, to maximize profits, and doing so at all costs, affecting the middle class. At first, it used to be that only low-skilled workers were affected by outsourcing and free trade, but now it has actually hit the professional. Or your radiologist, guess what? A doctor, your work can be outsourced. Are you a software developer? Guess what? In China, Vietnam, and Philippines, they can write the same software just as good for a lot cheaper, less than 1/3 the value. Are you a lawyer? You work in a lawyer's office? They can be trained to interpret those documents at 1/3 the price. Hey, are you a tech support analyst? Well, guess what? They're already doing it. These guys can outsource everything, so nobody's jobs are secure other than the 1%, the capitalists that distribute the capital to move jobs wherever they find it cheaper. Therefore, if Americans are to make a good decision this election cycle, it is going to be imperative that they get good information. It is obvious that the networks are not able, willing, or cannot, because of their loyalty and necessity for ad dollars from the corporations, to provide that information to make Americans make good choices. It is up to those of us who are in the know, those of us who study what's going on, those who have the real factual information, to provide that to the American populace. These guys that are running are completely and entirely unpatriotic because they have put business, they have put a small group, they have put corporations ahead of the average American citizen. They have put everything else over country.